Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining this webinar this evening. My name's Stuart Buchanan. I'm the head of PSHE. I'm not going to talk for very long. I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you for attending this evening. Hope you find the information in this webinar really, really useful. I'd also just like to say a massive thank you to Avril for giving up her time to deliver this session. I think there's a huge amount that we will hopefully all learn from this session. I'll stop talking now and pass you over, but thank you again.
Thank you so much, Stuart, and thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here to support your school and teachers and parents. As Stuart said, my name is Avril. I'm a parent of 2 kids myself. I have a 10-year-old girl and a 14-year-old boy. So the struggle is real when it comes to managing family life online. And I work for a company called Trend Micro, and Trend Micro is a global cybersecurity company. And I've worked there for almost 20 years now. And my job in Trend Micro is, as part of our corporate social responsibility, to promote the safe, responsible and successful use of the internet to the world's youngest digital citizens and parents and educators worldwide. So my job, I work training people all over the world in countries everywhere. I could be doing webinars in Saudi Arabia to Japan, all around the world, and training our volunteers as well, because our employees do what I do tonight. And this is how we give back to our community, because we're experts when it comes to security, cybersecurity, and we want to give back to our community in the best way we can, which is, you know, as parents and as educators, we want the best for our kids and we want them to be safe. So I met Stuart through the Chief Inspector of Police Scotland, Scott Teese. Trend Micro were introduced to Scott several years ago, and I had the privilege of traveling in a police car all around Scotland for an entire week. And you can imagine being in the back seat of a car with 2 uniformed police in front all the time. Not intimidating at all. I went from Inverary on Lough Fyne to Ben Nevis, Loch Ness, Inverness, so many miles travelled all around, and we delivered the cyber safety programme to parents and to kids as well, and teens across Scotland. And I trained police everywhere I went, and within about 2 years they had reached themselves in community over 150,000 parents, kids and teachers. So that was just fantastic, something I couldn't have achieved on my own. So welcome and thank you for joining tonight. I'm just going to share my slides with you now, and we'll get started. This session will be an hour, and I say an hour because if you have questions, I will answer questions at the end of that then, unless it's something pertinent to what I'm saying there and then. Otherwise, I leave it till the end. And as I said, it's recorded. So just for you to be aware of that, and Stuart will be sharing that out afterwards as well. I'm going to use some polls. I used to do this face-to-face. I probably wouldn't have travelled to Scotland for a parent talk, but polls are a great way to get a feel for the audience. I miss seeing the audience. It's easier to gauge with body language if they want more information on something or they put their hand up. So please feel free to use the chat function, say hello to me, and use the Q&A. And that's what it's there for. This is, how we communicate these days, and I would love to hear from you so that I don't feel so alone when I'm talking tonight. The feedback form at the end, when you end the webinar, you will be directed to a web page, and we just ask, I'd love to get your feedback on how you felt the webinar went, and I will talk more about that later anyway. And as I said, it's recorded. So the first poll I'm going to launch is just to get a feel for who you are tonight and what age range your kids are, just to help me guide the conversation tonight. So you should see in front of you now a poll. What ages are your kids? And simply click which one that resonates most with you. Are you under 5, 6 to 10 years, 11 to 14, or 15 plus? Okay, so the majority we have a few under 5 and we have a majority are 11 years plus, but we do have some that are between 6 and 10 years of age. So that's good to know. So more older kids, parents of older kids on this. Okay, and I can share that with you so that you know as well, the audience that you're with tonight and other parents. Okay, so that was the first question that I wanted to ask. And the next question that I want to ask you is your greatest concerns when your kids are online. You know, is it the time spent online? Is it the inappropriate content of images and languages and things that they may be exposed to? Is it contact with strangers and people that they don't generally know offline? Private information being shared that they're sharing online, your kids? Or, you know, sometimes I get a lot of parents saying, I don't actually know what I need to know to keep them safe. And that's actually quite a normal response too. So, or you might have all of the above. So I'm just going to launch the poll so you can, let me see. Okay, here you go. So you might just answer those and let me know. Let's just see where your greatest concerns would lie. Okay, so okey doke. So thank you for that. I'm just going to share that with you as well. So inappropriate content, and that would be things that your children might be exposed to online, what they're seeing from images and language, to perhaps what they're sharing themselves, and what they're saying online to others and sharing. So that's good to know. And I think after that, then it's the amount of time spent online. And I think we could all have guessed that one's going to be well up there, given the pandemic in the last year. We're all online so much more. And I'll cover that too, and contact with strangers. So I'm going to cover everything here, but I just wanted to know where the weighting was with your greatest concerns, because that gives me a good feel for you as my audience. Okay. So a lot has happened in the last year with COVID, and a lot of things have changed, but some things haven't changed at all. And that would be, you know, children still need guidance, even through all this change. They still need our guidance. And the risks are still there, but so are the benefits. And we have to remember that we hear a lot about the risks, the dangers, but we need to weigh that up with the benefits as well. And we all have seen the benefits online as much as we've heard about risks and seen risks for ourselves. So that leads to really, you know, good digital citizenship. It's a big tongue twister to say it, but it's still a priority. And what does that really mean? Because this is really where we as parents and educators need to focus our time and our energy when it comes to our children and children everywhere. So we've broken this down into 4 areas. What is it really? If we're going to talk to kids and make sure that they're safe, responsible, and successful online, there's 4 key areas that we need to look at. The first one is safety and security. This is addressing the risks of everything they're exposed to online. So we need to make sure that our kids are equipped and they know how to be safe. And it's not just us making sure they're safe, but that they know how to be safe themselves. So that ultimately, when we're not around, that we know that they know themselves how to protect themselves and be safe and secure. And then there's digital literacy. So it's one thing being able to use a device, and your children will be very familiar with devices in Merchiston School. It goes beyond just being able to use a device. It's about, you know, when they're doing their homework, when they're researching, when they're looking things up online, do they know what's real? Do they know how to fact check? Do they know how to use the internet in ways that is, you know, that it's credible, and that integrity is held there too. It's very easy to find anything online, but it's making sure that it's credible is the key. So digital literacy and media literacy are really important. And then ethics and community. You know, we do things for ourselves, but there are so many things that we can do to help our community and to be ethical online, and to be respectful, and so on. So that's the third one. And the final one doesn't get as much coverage as it should. I think risk certainly outweighs mastery, because we're so worried about our kids. We talk about safety and risk a lot, and the risks involved with being online a lot, but mastery is really important. And this is the balancing act that I mentioned earlier. when we talk about mastery, we want kids to use the internet to the full potential. That's why it's there, and I think COVID has shown us that in the last year for sure. I think the internet in the last year has been used for what it is actually intended for. Communicating, using it for homework, for school, for working, for so many things, for information, for social, for learning, for medical reasons, for doctor's appointments, for so much. So it's about mastering the online world and using the internet for our own benefit and our own successes. So there are the 4 areas, and that's what digital citizenship is all about, being a good digital citizen online. So this is how we've broken that down for us as parents in this presentation tonight. The first one is being online. I'm going to talk to you about the environment that we set up, and both at home and at school, wherever they are with their devices. And then rules that are set, and then leading by example. And I know from talking to Stuart that, your children have been in school from September to Christmas, and then it was flipped after Christmas and they spent 3 months at home as well. So both teachers and parents, you've had a good feel for both, having a mix of that, when kids are at home full time and when they're not at home as often. So I'm going to cover that first, and then we're going to talk about being safe, being kind, and being savvy as well. We cover privacy and information, how to protect yourself online, which is really important, and then being kind to yourself and to others. And that's really important for kids from a young age. And being savvy. This comes down to mastery again, good habits and good uses, so that we can all, not just kids, we're all proud of ourselves and what we do online and what we see about ourselves online. So the first thing is setting up the environment, the physical space and our physical health as well. We need a quiet space. We need lighting. And the 30-30-30, I don't know if you've heard of this before, but you can start doing this with kids under 5 right now. That if they're watching something on TV or whatever they're doing on a screen, that they look away for 30 seconds. Every 30 minutes, they look away for 30 seconds, and they look out a window or look 30 feet away. And that's really important for their eyes, to stretch their eyes, and for their vision, it's really important. And seating, posture. We've all had those crooked necks, and crooked necks. Feet on the ground is very important. Sitting on a good solid chair and being able to use a device and a screen in a way that complements their seating posture. It's very important, or else it'll have long-term not benefits, health issues that need to be addressed, and nobody wants to go down the physio route with a kid for sure. So movement breaks is very important as well, to stretch regularly and take breaks regularly. So that's the physical space. Then we're looking at the environment and keeping your network running. So, if you have a router, you should have a router at home if you have internet. And you can limit access to your router. Usually routers have the main Wi-Fi password, and then they have a guest Wi-Fi password. So you might notice, depending on what type of router you have, there's usually 2 passwords that you have, and they're actually specific for a main one and for a guest one. But you can break that down into keeping the main one for the adults who use it for work, for example, and keeping the guest one for the kids, so that they're separate. They're kept separately. You can separate that network, like I said. And then use a Wi-Fi extender. So, for example, in my house, I live in a very old cottage, and the walls are 6 foot thick. Well, maybe not 6 foot, 3 foot. So I have boosters all around my house, and a booster basically boosts the Wi-Fi. So when I'm downstairs in a really bad part of the house where there's bad Wi-Fi, and I've put my booster in, it basically the Wi-Fi signal comes down the electricity into the plug in the socket, and I get a better connection in that room. So I can't recommend Wi-Fi extenders enough. Boosters, they're great for that, to improve the quality of your Wi-Fi all over the home. Because if everyone's doing, and you've experienced it probably in the last few months when your kids were at home, if you were working maybe and your kids were homeschooling, they were on Zoom calls with their teachers, it's important to stagger usage time when your kids are online and you have to be online, just to try and stagger that, so that you reduce the amount of stress and anxiety all around for the family. And then when it comes to setting up the environment, we need to secure everything. And that goes as well for, using security software on all devices. Any device that connects to the internet needs to have protection on it to secure your device. And within that, you might get these updates. They're very annoying. You're, oh, I have to update my device now. But it's really important that you do that update as soon as you can, because an update means there's a vulnerability, and this update will protect your device from that vulnerability, whatever it is. In my office here in Trend Micro, they call it patching, the local techies. So make sure you patch your device or get those updates as soon as you can on all devices when they appear. It's really, really important to protect your device and keep it secure. Strong passwords, again, the longer the better. They used to be complex is really important, but now it's longer. 13 digits and more are the best way to go. They're the most complex and most difficult for hackers to break down. So as long as you can, and I'll mention that again later. And you can use a password manager. Basically, you just need one password, and the password manager will encrypt all your passwords and manage them for you. So it's up to you. But strong passwords and changing them often is really, really important. Multi-factor authentication. Some parents don't know what that is, but you do actually. It's just a big, long, complicated word. Multi-factor authentication is basically like two locks on your door. So you have your password to get in, and you can go into your settings and set this up. Sometimes it's called two-factor authentication or multi-factor. And basically what it means is it'll send you either a code to your phone, or it could send you a code to an email address that you specify, and you have to enter that code in order to get into your account. And that's the app or the website's way of verifying that it's really you that's accessing the account. So if somebody did crack your password, they also need to have access to your phone or your email to get that special code from multi-factor authentication. So it's double proofing your account. I would recommend this on all, especially gaming devices, and especially for children. They can be quite a target. And using a virtual private network, that's also really important, a VPN. And if you're looking yourself to see, well, what's the best VPN, I would recommend the best thing to do is to go online. There's great choice out there. You're probably challenged with choice, and there's a lot of reviews on best VPNs, but a VPN will make sure that the information going from your device to whatever website or organization that you want to send that information to, that it's secure, the securest and the quickest as well, using VPN. So that's securing everything when you're setting up the environment. And practicing good habits also is really important. And that's, software updates Tuesday nights. You could have a specific day in the week, or as soon as you see the pop-up that you need to update, make sure you do it in 24 hours, whatever suits you best. But just make sure that you do that, because as I said, it's really important. This is an example of a passphrase. Might need to buy more toilet paper soon. That was earlier in the pandemic. But you can break that down into words, then make it as long as you can. It could be the first sentence of a song, your favorite song, and use capitals and use special characters and numbers, and then change it often as well is really important. And backing up and storing safely. I mean, I know, it's very easy that your phone, I found a phone on my local road one time. My neighbor put the phone on her car and drove off. She was putting the kids into the car. And of course the phone took off into the ditch, and I found it, and she got it back. But some people aren't as lucky. So whether your phone gets rolled over, lost, or it just breaks down for whatever reason, you need to back it up safely to make sure that you always have a backup. And that's really, really important. And again, what's the best backup and storage to use? It depends on your device. And you can look that up online as well to see what are the best ones there available. You can shop around. So setting up the environment as well, tech tools. I would say to you that in your home right now, you've got enough there already to secure your home using tech tools. Whether it's your PS4 or Xbox, TVs, devices, iPads, Android devices, they all actually have settings, and privacy settings and family settings or safety settings. They're called different things, well-being. They're called different things in different apps, programs and devices, but you have them there, and they help you with age-appropriate content, which is a big concern for a lot of parents that dialed in tonight. In-app purchases, you can turn that off so that your child is not automatically buying V-Bucks or Robux, or they're not automatically downloading apps whenever they want. You can restrict apps being downloaded until you see what they want. And managing time online as well. You can actually manage that, and I'll explain a little bit more in a while. And monitoring, and it's a double-edged sword, monitoring, but I think it's really good to be able to share what you see with your child and say, well, look, this is how much time you've been on your device this week, and this is what you've been doing. So I'll talk again about that, but there's so much stuff that you have already, you don't need to buy much or anything. From routers, like I said, to devices, depending on the service provider you have, they can offer things too. Sometimes you have to pay for it, but there's a lot you can do without paying at all. A lot of this is free. Your security software as well can also offer it to you. App stores, websites, everything has security software and protection in them. You just have to find them. And to be honest, I find the biggest thing is finding the time to do that. My daughter wanted me to download Fortnite a good while back. I kept putting it off because, one, I wasn't too sure I was ready for her to play Fortnite. Two, I knew it was going to take time. She thinks she was ready since the day she was born to have Fortnite, but eventually I did. But it took me a few hours to get my head around it. I'm a bit slow like that. But it took me a while just to do my research with her. And we did it together and we got it. And she was very grateful to me because she could see how long I spent doing it. Some things are quick, 5 minutes. Some things take that little bit longer. Some people are very quick at it. Some people are slower like me. There's nothing wrong with that either. Just take your time and explore together, which is a wonderful thing to do with your child as well. You can look at the things that you're concerned about and they can tell you what they really like and are excited about once they do get it. So the tech tools. If we look, for example, at anybody out there with the Apple family devices in your home, like the iOS screen time, and this is something that I happen to have in my home. I didn't purposely do it, but we all seem to have. I have an Apple phone at work, so does my husband, and my kids then have iPads for school. So it's great because I was able to set them up with 2 iCloud accounts because they're under 16. And then I was able to activate screen time on my device. And that means that I can schedule downtime. So during homeschooling, which was a good 6 months in Ireland, because I'm dialing in from Ireland in the last year, I was able to say that they're only allowed to have their apps for school that they need for school during the hours of 9 to 5 every day. They're not allowed anything else during that time. And then, app limits when they do have time to go on their favorite apps and games, that we can restrict that time and to so much time in the day. And then communication limits, so who can contact them, and for you can restrict that. And what can they always have? So my kids, for example, are always allowed their music because they love music, and their camera and photos because one of them loves making videos. So there's certain things that they love, and my son loves Google Maps, so he always has Google Maps. He loves exploring Google Maps. So different things. And then content and privacy restrictions. This is a big one. If there's particular websites you don't want your children on, or maybe they were on and you weren't too happy and you talk to them about it, you can put the website in there and block it so they can't access it from their device. So there's so much in here. Some parents don't like to use this at all. But if you're a parent that would like to use this, it's there, it's free, and it's there for you to use for Apple devices. So you can manage screen time, you can get weekly reports. And I use this with my daughter and more in particular, and we look at it together. And, there was one particular app that was mindlessly, it was just doing, it was like lava lamp activity, and there was no real productive quality stuff going on or learning or creative things going on. So we agreed together, because we kind of laughed about it, you can't really spend too much. So we restricted that to 30 minutes because she did relax using it, but no more than 30 minutes. So you can use it as a great way to have conversation with your kids from an early age. It's really great. Okay, so if I look at TikTok then, sorry, I got a question in there now, my 9-year-old just exclaimed, Fortnite is not violent. It doesn't have blood. So I'm going to answer that. Yes, Martin. My daughter loves Fortnite. I've finally given into buying her V-Bucks only 2 days ago. And she bought her first skin and she's so excited and happy about it. It isn't violent, there isn't blood, and there's a lot worse out there. And there's a lot of benefits to Fortnite as well. I'm going to refer to this to Stuart because we've done a lot of work on this and we have an exclusive webinar dedicated to gaming, which Stuart will be sharing with you afterwards. And we talk about Roblox, we talk about Fortnite, and a few other games as well. And I have a team of gamers on the webinar with me. One is a parent of 5 kids and he's raising 5 gamers. And one is a 21-year-old avid gamer, and they give some great information and they go right into the settings as well for you. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword, but once you're there with them on Fortnite, watching what they're doing, keeping the lines of communication open, and making sure that they're aware of the dangers and the settings, that they come talk to you at any time, that's the most important thing. Okay, so back to TikTok. If you anybody's kids on TikTok, send me a message. Let me know. Put it into the chat there and let me know. Actually, do I have? Yes, let me see. Okay. Yes, okay. So lots of people have their children are on TikTok. Some of you may not yet, they may be too young, you're not ready for it, they're not ready for it. You know your own child best. And the minimum age is 13. A lot of kids under 13 are on it as well. But that again comes down to, let me just talk about TikTok instead of just, I'll show you what you can do, because something really wonderful happened with TikTok last April. They basically introduced family pairing, which basically means that if you decide to give your child TikTok, they too, you as a parent, can pair, which means that you're basically got a mirror image on your device with their device. You need both devices to set it up, but you just go into family pairing, turn it on, and sync them up, and you can see what they see. And it's a great way to introduce them to it, as well as going through all the settings. So you know, like I said, parent and teen use it together to set it up. You can limit the amount of time that they're on it. You can exclude content that isn't suitable for them. And you can limit who can send messages to that family member as well. So family pairing, you know, TikTok introduced it automatically. Anyone under 16 on TikTok, their account now defaults to private. And Snapchat recently have done the same. So this is something that you'd assume would be the case. It wasn't. And not all apps default to private. So for example, Fortnite defaults to public, you know, a lot of apps. So you have to actually go into the settings and turn it to private in privacy in settings yourself. But for TikTok and now recently Snapchat, it defaults, if the child is under 16, it defaults to private. So that's good news. Anybody out there like Roblox? As in their children? It's a love-hate for many parents. Roblox is, yes, again, lots of people on Roblox. Lots of people loving TikTok, especially dancing during lockdown, which was great fun. So I would recommend, if whatever your child is on, set up an account yourself and just understand what it is. And it helps them communicate with you when they're having problems or they don't understand something. And you can understand better why they love it so much. And they feel they can talk more to you because, well, mom or dad knows what it is. So they're not in the dark ages. They know what I'm on. And they feel that they can talk to you more. When I talk to kids in the last few years, and I've been doing this for 13 years now, a lot of teens would say to me, I would love to talk to my parents about this, but I can't because they don't understand it. When I talk to parents after my parent talk, they say, I need to talk to my kids more about this stuff. So the best thing you can do is just be on the apps and games that your kids are, or just sit and watch them play it every now and again, especially with things like Fortnite and Roblox, because it is quite fun. So this is something that just going to show you here with Roblox. Roblox is very creative and kids absolutely love it. I'm going to just play this because this is quite a really cool tutorial, a very brief one on settings. You just go to settings and you go to set privacy and go to security. And here you can add a pin. This basically means that when you have this pin set up, only you can make changes to the settings in Roblox. Any setting you want to make, you have to. If you want to change it to everybody wants it, or you want everybody to follow, you have to put in the pin number. So as a parent, you can have that pin in there and lock it down so that your child can't change the privacy settings in it. So that's something really good for you to use and to be aware of. Again, like I said, we've an exclusive gaming webinar to share with you after this as well, a recording that you can watch on demand. So bear that in mind as well. Did I get another question? Yes, our kids use TikTok. Yes, and lots of my kids love TikTok and Roblox too. So we talked about the environment. We talked about the security and the safety of setting up your environment and the physical aspect of the environment. And now we're going to talk about setting up the rules. So we need to understand. We need to make sure what our children are on, what devices they're on, when they're allowed to use them. Things have changed during COVID to the point where our kids had to use it all day long for school. And then, sometimes they were actually too tired to use it in the evenings, or they wanted to use it just to relax and take a break. So deciding how long they are on what is really important. But let's not get hung up on time. It needs to be, the focus must always be on quality time online, not quantity. Screen time in itself is probably an old word that we should probably lose in the foreseeable future, because, describing screen time these days is a very gray area, because we're all online for different things in different times, whether it's schoolwork, homework, talking to friends and family, reading our Kindle, or so many other things. So deciding how long, again, I showed earlier how cool it was to be able to, set up in the iPhone and the Apple family, how to set that up in screen time. You can also set that up in Family Link as well, which I will share with you again in a while. And where kids under 10, actually all kids, my kids aren't allowed to bring their devices to their rooms. And I would recommend that all devices should be downstairs and not in their rooms. Obviously, for school, they need a quiet place. They may have to go into their rooms for school, and sometimes that may be really hard. So, but know where your kids are on their devices so that you can keep an eye on them. And with whom? Who are they playing with online? And again, this is the conversation we need to have with kids. You can only talk to people that you know offline when you're online. And that's really important from an early age to keep that conversation going. And just in relation to the 24 hours, screen time is something that you mentioned earlier that is a concern for you. We had a pediatrician, and he's a mediatrician as well. And this is something that he recommended, and I've done this with my own kids as well. It's a great way to talk to your kids to help them understand managing their own screen time. And it's about teaching them from a young age to manage it for themselves, structuring it for themselves. So if you draw a pie chart with them, or get them to do it themselves and be with them, write down a list of things they do in 24 hours. So they have to sleep, eat, and do exercise and all those things. So how much time does that take? And then they need to go to school, they need to do homework, they may have sports to do, go to sports, they may have online classes for recreation, they may be reading. So there's a lot of learning activities there. How much time does that take in 24 hours? And then looking at relationships, so time with family, time with friends, and with neighbors. And again, that can be online too, depending on the lockdown and the pandemic that we're in at the moment. And then there's time left over. So you're breaking down 24 hours for kids into digestible pieces of, well, this is your day. These are all really important things, and what you want to do in that time that you've left over. And this time left over is really important to look at. Quality time, creative, not passive consumption of information online. Are they creating things? Are they learning things? And there's so many cool things that they can be doing online, from learning how to play guitar, piano, new languages, researching their favorite games, learning how to cook their favorite meal, entering competitions, writing a blog. There's so many things that they can do online, but it's making sure and guiding them so that they're doing creative things when they are online. So we as parents as well, and educators, need to set the example. So we need to set rules for ourselves. When we all sit down at home in my house watching TV, I have to put this away because my default is the phone comes out when I sit down with the TV. So that has to go away when we're watching family movie. So setting rules, simple rules, but your kids see what you do, and whatever you do, you're setting the norm in your home. So whatever they see you doing, they will emulate in the future. That's fact. Respecting each other's time online. So if you're on a call or you're doing something online, that they respect that. And likewise, if they're on a school call, you can't go into their room or interrupt them when they're in a live class. And spending time together. I would also say no devices at mealtime. That's really good to have no device at mealtime and focus more on conversation, emotions, feelings of the day, what went on for everybody, sharing with each other, laughing, and just keeping that social emotional connection going is really important. And for the younger ones, that could be, okay, can I get Roblox, please? Well, let's see, let's have a look at this. You research together. What's the age limit? There's age restrictions on these things. What are the reviews like? Common Sense Media is a great website that when you look something up online, what does a parent need to know about Roblox? Guaranteed you'll get a Common Sense Media giving you information about that. So research it together, learn with them, build rules together if you agree to give it to them, and branch out carefully together using those tech tools. For the older kids, and there's a lot of older kids, parents on the line tonight, you might overhear something when they're chatting with a friend through gaming, or they're on their device and they're saying something. That might actually, I want to really talk to them about that. That's a bit, maybe I need to check in. It's a great way, whether they're in the back seat of the car or it's going to bed at night or they're doing the dishes or whatever they're doing, So listen, how's things going on, whatever, or just bring up the conversation. Basically, checking in with kids regularly is really important to hear what's really going on. And your own kids, when there's something going on, when you need to check in on them. But I would say try do that as regular as possible. Ask and listen. And kids often want you to listen. They don't want solutions and you to solve everything for them. Sometimes they just need you to listen. And you may not know how to help, but listening is the key, active listening. And the role of the relationship between you and your child and the teacher and children is crucial and the most important thing. I said to Stuart earlier, no piece of technology can replace the role of the parent or the teacher. We're always there and we need to be there for them to listen, to ask questions, to check in on them and discuss free apps as well. And help them take breaks, guide them. We all need to take breaks, go for walks, walk the dog, socially distance and visit somebody maybe, depending on what the guidelines are at the moment. But encourage good uses of the internet too. And that's all. You don't need a degree in technology to do that. And it's something that we can all do. This is something that I think if I was to encapsulate the really key important things for this conversation as a parent, as an educator, quality time online. Don't get hung up on the hours, especially during a pandemic. We can't. So don't get hung up on it. Focus on quality time. What are they doing online? What are we doing online? Not just them. Settings, privacy settings. Find them, set them up. If you can't figure it out, the internet will tell you how to. YouTube tutorials. The relationship is so, so important. It is the number one piece of advice from Trend Micro. We're a global secure cybersecurity company, and our number one piece of advice when it comes to internet safety for kids and families is the relationship you have with your child and active listening and open communication always, so that when they're in trouble, they'll come to you. Confiscating devices can be a double-edged sword. If you take away the device and the problem goes away and they've learned their lesson, children can often interpret that as, I won't be telling them again because they'll just take my device away. So be careful with that one. I've promised my daughter I will never confiscate her device as long as she's always honest with me. And that's how I get to keep the open discussion with her. Yes, I do check in on her chats every now and again. I hope she's not dialed in right now. But that's just me making sure she's okay and just checking in on things. And we all, as parents, when we need to be FBI, we will be FBI to look after the well-being and safety of our children. And the 24 hours, remember that rule. what Dr. Rich was saying from Boston University Hospital. It is powerful exercise to do with your kids, to teach them how to regulate their own time online. They know when to put it down. Enough is enough. Okay, so being online is the biggest part of this webinar and this parent evening, but I'm going to talk to you briefly about being safe online as well. About privacy, protecting your information, and protecting yourself. That goes for you and your children and teachers as well. So you never know who's watching, and it's really important to be aware of that. And when it comes to settings, I have just an example here on Fortnite, surprise, surprise. And you can see the 3 lines here at the top. This is how you get into settings. And as I said earlier, it defaults to public. So you have to go into privacy and click on private, and then click the apply button down the bottom to turn it to private. That means that the public can't see everybody, and it's very restricted with who they can play with and who they can engage with online. Oops, excuse me, I've gone too fast there. I'm just going to see, I've gotten a question here maybe. No, just some comments. And confiscating, yes, completely agree. Indeed, confiscating a device will not teach how to deal with the problem. Absolutely. And it definitely works if you promise them never to confiscate and that they always be honest with you. And it's a great way to open things up. And sometimes you might not want to hear what you're hearing, but aren't you better off hearing it than it going underground and you never hearing about it? The problems really start when the talking stops. So please remember that. Okay, so onto privacy and protecting privacy. Understand the limits to privacy settings. So this is something that not only do I talk to parents about, but I also talk to teens about. When you download an app, what's the first thing you have to give away in order to use the app? And most people say, oh, your name, your email address, maybe a phone number or something. When you accept the terms and conditions, basically what you're doing is you're allowing the app to use your information whenever, wherever, forever. That's what you're allowing them to do when you accept and hit that accept button. And if you don't accept it, then you can't use the app. If you do accept it, then you're allowing them to do whatever they want with your information. Your information, what you share, photos, comments, likes, searches, whatever you're doing on the app, whatever the app services offers you, you own it, but you're allowing them to do whatever they want with it, whether that's for sales, advertising, data analytics, whatever it is, but they have the right to use it. And a lot of teens don't like the sound of this, and they get very upset about it when we explain it to them. But it's really important that they understand that, because the key message here is think before you post, because everything out there has a digital footprint and it's out there forever. Even if you take it down, even if you decide to remove your account from the app and you ask the app to remove your account completely, and under GDPR, they have 30 days to remove that or suffer the consequences of fines as a result. So it's important that young people understand that, and we as adults as well, that that's the price of free. There is no such thing as free. And then protecting information. So when we go online, we are exposed to so many things, from poison search results. You go to look for something and it looks like the website you're always on, but is it really? Using HTTPS is really important, a secure website, but always check still that site that you're on. Is it the site you really want? Because sometimes it can look and feel, but it mightn't be. It could be a poisoned search result, and it could be a fake site that you're on. Security software is really good for that as well, to make sure that you've up-to-date security software protecting your device and everything you do online. Free offers, pop-ups. How many times have you seen that? So not clicking on things, and talking to kids about that's really important. Pop-ups about Fortnite. Get free V-Bucks. Just give me this information. No such thing as free, kids. Seriously. Okay, only buy V-Bucks from reputable sources within the game, and talk to parents. And fake media site, you see a link for a headline that really grabs your attention and it's not real. It's clickbait. It's just going to, they get paid for getting you to click. And then have you ever noticed it's just all ads on an amazing headline you saw? That's their advertising things, and they're getting paid. So they get amazing titles to draw you in. You click the link, and then if you're lucky, it's just ads. If you're not lucky, you could be downloading malicious software to your device. So again, back to being secure, security software, doing your updates regularly is really, really important, and making sure your kids understand all this stuff as well. Kids are quite savvy though. Do any of your kids have their own phone? Let me know. I presume if a lot of them already are between the ages of 11 up, then they would have a phone. And especially when they're in school, away in boarding, they would need that to get in touch with you. So I'm going to assume a lot of them do, but I'm sure a lot of them don't either if they're under the age of 13. But again, you know what's right for your child. You know your own child, and you know when the time is right for a device. Okay, let me see. Just keeping an eye there on the checking on the Q&A and chat. So just one thing that I want to talk to you about when it comes to devices and phones especially. The best thing that kids love about the phone is the camera. And it's really important that kids understand that when you take a photograph, even if you don't share it with anyone, there's this thing called metadata that's gathered on the photograph. And that's your exact location and where the photo was taken. Even if you don't share it, it's there. And when you do share it, it's very easy for somebody to access where the location of that photo was taken to find out where that child took that photograph. So the best thing you can do is go to settings and turn the camera off in the device because it's not needed. My husband says he likes it because he likes to know where those photos were taken. But for children, I would say turn the camera location off under settings. Obviously, for Google Maps, you need it on, but there's a lot of apps that look for your location and they don't need to be on, so switch it off. So that's the first thing. The second thing would be to talk to your kids about the feeling, the need to, their feeling of being. They should never feel pressurized into sending and sharing or taking photographs of themselves, inappropriate images of themselves, and sharing them with one other person or a few people in a trusted environment. They should never share them. They should never feel pressurized by other peers to do the same. And unfortunately, during the pandemic, there has been an increase in, less than honorable intentions by people out there getting photographs and demanding, blackmailing children for money, or they're going to threaten to share them with the school and parents. So it's really, really important that we talk to children about the importance of not feeling pressurized. And if they do, again, back to parents and teachers, that they come and talk to someone they trust, to someone they know who won't overreact. You can overreact later with another grown-up, but just don't overreact in front of them. Just remember they're coming to you with something. Thank them for coming to you and tell them you don't know how to deal with it, or you'll help them figure it out, but you're so grateful they're talking to you about it. So that's really important. And again, like I said, the photograph, even if you don't send it, it has information attached to the photograph. And if you've got cloud storage, suddenly it's not only on your device, it's being backed up in storage as well. So again, that information, switch it off. You don't need it. Gaming, I'm not going to spend too much on this because we have a separate gaming webinar for you. But again, there is age ratings. There are huge benefits to gaming. The world's leading surgeons are avid gamers. Hand-to-eye coordination, precision, troubleshooting, teamwork, collaboration, strategic thinking, problem solving. There's so much good stuff with gaming. And it's a great way for kids to hang out and be together in this pandemic. But again, obviously, there is that element of danger when it comes to who they're talking to online, the language they're hearing, but remember settings. You can go into settings and you can set it up so that they're protected and they're safe, but more so that you talk to them about why, so that they're learning for themselves, even when they're in their 20s and 30s, whatever app they download, they go straight to settings and set it all up so they're protected. Their privacy, their personal information, themselves, they're safe and they're protected, and they can go on and continue to enjoy the app in a safe and responsible and successful way, thinking before they post and share. So again, Stuart will share the webinar gaming webinar with you, and also the managing screen time webinar with you. That's your homework, I'm sorry, for over the next month. If, when you're walking the dog or you're cooking or ironing, just listen into these webinars, because there's some really great information there for you as well. So that's the safety piece, and I'm nearly done. Kindness, everything starts with kindness, online and offline. And something I've really learned from my daughter, actually, through her accounts, is that when she creates a piece of video, she loves making Roblox videos, for example, and Gotcha Life. She loves Gotcha Life. Anybody's kids love Gotcha? She loves making videos. But she has a lot of people, of her friends, commenting on her videos saying, "Oh my God, you're so talented. That's lovely. I really like that. How did you do that?" They're so complimentary of each other. And it's really wonderful to see. Again, we always think of the risks and the dangers, but there's so many good things and positive things that kids are doing online, and they need to be called out in it and say, "Well done, that's really nice," and it's great to see that. So kindness, it's the right thing to do, and it reflects on you. And we can't encourage that enough. And it's simple for us as parents and educators. Just show them how it's done. One act of kindness every day, instill that in them. A teacher said to me a few years back, "Err on the side of kindness always." And I always remember it. And respecting others. If someone's offline, they're offline for a reason. Don't bombard them. And you'd like them, that when you're offline as a kid or as a teen or as a teacher, that they respect your privacy when you're offline as well. So respecting privacy, and family rules and values, age restrictions, language, that you talk about that as a family. It could be over dinner, but it's what's important to you in your home. It's easy for us to do, to instill kindness in our children, simply by us doing it and we naming it. This is called kindness. This is called empathy. This is called compassion. And using those words with them so they understand what you're doing and you're putting words on it for them. And being kind to yourself too is really important. Image is a big thing online, the pressure to be perfect, and it's so important to talk to kids when they see something and they're showing you. It's a great way to have conversations. So use them as opportunities to have great conversation with your kids. When they come to you and you don't like what you see, seriously, do they honestly, and even I find for us mothers and fathers and teachers, there is pressure for us as well to be the perfect mother, to have the best dinner, the best home, the best body, the best everything. There's too much pressure, and it's not real, and it's not realistic. And it's important to talk to kids that everybody at every age is targeted with products and, promoting this image that isn't real. And we need to make sure that they understand that. And especially that they understand that they and their online life does not represent them as a person, as a human being. How many likes they get, how many comments, how many retweets or whatever they're using, or how many shares, that does not represent their value in life. Their real value is them as a human being, their talents, their strengths, their skills. And that's something, again, that we as parents can remind them every single day, that they're greater than who they are online and more valued than they realize. So nurturing kindness, we need to be supportive, be prepared, show them what kindness looks like. And what would you do if you realized, if the teacher called you in the morning and said that your child was cyberbullying somebody else? What would you do? You need to figure out why they're doing this. Get to the bottom of it. Have the conversation with them. There's two sides to every story. There's something going on. Get to the bottom of it with them. Use it as an opportunity to talk to them openly without overreacting. Get to the bottom of it and help them figure out how to recover from this situation. And that's the best thing we can do as parents and teachers to support children, because every child is capable of being bullied and every child is capable of conducting the act of cyberbullying themselves. And the same as adults. We're all in this together. We've all seen it online. Adults cyberbullying other adults cyberbullying minors like Greta Thunberg. It's embarrassing to watch. It's cringeworthy, but great conversation with kids. So just remember, anything you see, remember it for dinner time and bring it up as conversation. Great conversations. So, stay active, communicate, keep the lines of communication open, active listening, staying up to date. And the best way is to have the app on your device too. You mightn't really like it, but they do, and they'll show you why. And that's a great way for them to always feel, well, they know what it is, so I can go and talk to them about it. So that is the end of the parent talk. I'm just going to see if anybody has any questions for me. No. I have a few slides just to show you. After this webinar, you'll be directed to this site. It's our website. It's called internetsafety.trendmicro.com/feedback. But when you on the site feedback, go to the rest of the site. There's so much information there. If your native language isn't English, we have our top tips and resources on the resources page. You see there at the top, you see resources. We have 7 different top tip sheets in up to 10 languages. We have it in Arabic, in Chinese, in German, in French, loads of languages. So please feel free to use those resources. They're free for you to download. In September, we'll be launching our Kids 7 to 10-year-old program, which we're really excited about. We're working on it at the moment. And it'll be available on this site too for schools and for parents to work with their own kids. So please, I'd love to get your feedback. So when you end this webinar, please fill out the feedback form. And if you do, put your email address into the comment anywhere that you can on the feedback form. There's a comments box somewhere. And I will be raffling this maximum security. It's a 1-year subscription for 5 devices in your home. It's basically security software for 5 devices in your home for 1 year. So 5 of them for tonight. So if you're doing the feedback form, and if you don't mind giving your email address, I'll only use it to contact you to get this to you. But we'll send you a goodie bag with it, one of these goodie bags here behind me as well. We'll post it over. But just bear that in mind anyway. We'd love to hear from you. But we value your privacy, so don't feel under pressure to give us your email address. But if you do, you'll be in the draw for the subscription for the security software. These are the 2 webinars that Stuart will be sending you. Helping kids stay safe while gaming online. Like I said, Fortnite's in there, and so is Roblox. And there's another one. I'm trying to remember what it is. And the other one then is managing screen time with your kids. Dedicated hour to this. Great conversation with my co-host. Worth the watch, I promise you. Questions, I think I had one. Thank you. Would love to hear. Okay, how should you talk to older teenage boys about inappropriate content? So I guess it depends on whether have you come across it yourself? Have you seen them on it? Do you know they're on it? Are you thinking they might be on it, or you're not too sure at all they're on it at all? So I think what I would do as a parent is I would start with a holistic view of what they're looking at, depending on their age as well. So, for example, if they're very young and they came across something and you have the screen time management, you can block websites to protect them. But if they're teenage and they're older, it depends on the content you're talking about. But I guess if it's specifically in one particular area, you want to talk to them about the damaging effect it can have on them if they're looking at this in isolation. There's a lot of pornography out there that young people have more easy access to these days that we didn't have that much access to when we were kids. It was only in magazines in the shops or something that kids passed around. But these days, it's so much more freely accessible. And if security and settings aren't locked down, and especially as kids and teens are getting older, they will get access to this. So having conversation with them I would gear it more towards it's the healthy use of it and used in healthy ways. Mental health, mental well-being, sexual content it's important to explore. Kids need to explore. They need to understand things. They probably have a lot of questions they don't want to talk to you about. So finding websites that would be appropriate for them, that might help them understand things a bit more, but also just making sure that they're not watching violent and obscene things online, because it's not real and it's not normal and it's not something, you know, that we would recommend in life, and they need to be aware of that. It's an awkward situation for any parent to be in, and you more than likely will experience it yourself. But again, that conversation from a young age is really important, that relationship, so they feel they can come to you. No matter how close you are, they won't want to talk to you about it, but maybe it could be someone else, like an uncle or an auntie or somebody that they can go to, and they can check in with them, but you can have the overall conversation with them as well. And there's no easy answer for this. So I don't have any other questions. Does anybody have any other questions? Stuart, I don't know if you're able to come back in. I'm going to stop the share here. We've covered being online, being safe, being kind, and being savvy. There's so much more that I could have shared with you, but I'm conscious that we only had the hour. We didn't want to bombard you too much, and we have homework for you. That's the bad news, isn't it, Stuart?
Hopefully not. Hopefully it's good news as well, I think. Yes, speaking for myself, I found the information that's come out of today's session so interesting in terms of setting the environment, in terms of setting the rules, all of that sort of really useful stuff. Hopefully is something we can all learn from. Just want to say again, a massive thank you to everyone for joining in today and taking part in the chat and asking questions. I hope you found it as useful as I have. And a huge thank you as well to Avril for giving up her time to give this presentation as well.
Not at all. And thank you everyone for joining. And Stuart, you'll be sending out those webinars to everybody, won't you?
I certainly will, yes.
And if anybody would like an open Q&A session, maybe in June before summertime and all the real fun begins online with kids on summer holidays, you know, watch those webinars, the 3, and let's get back together and talk in June for an hour and see what questions you have. And I'm here to support you anytime.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
And yes, the teenagers are always one step ahead and the struggle is real. But as long as you have that relationship with them, keep it going. That's all you need. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.
Take care.